Ish. It's still kind of crooked, but it's fine.
Welcome back. It is Cici and Jason.
Jason.
We're here to catch you up on what happened this week after the Fed meeting. So, what happened?
The Fed met, and the Fed reduced the federal funds rate 0.5%.
0.5%. That was the big occurrence this week. Thank you, Jerome Powell. However, what does that mean for us? Like, if we are out here looking for mortgage rates, looking at home prices on the market scale, what does that mean for a mortgage? So in the Bay Area, let's say average house is like $1 million. What does that mean for us?
Nothing changed. Actually, from last Friday to this Friday, the national average mortgage rate actually went up 0.01%. It technically went up from last Friday, even after the Fed reduced the federal funds rate.
So we flickered. It didn't go, the federal funds rate went down and mortgage rates went up 0.001.
Something like that, yeah, very small.
Very small.
But that probably caught a lot of people by surprise because many people do not know that the federal funds rate, the rate that was just cut, are not mortgage rates. Yes, they're like cousins. They're in the same family. Okay. They often do a lot of things together, but they're two independent rates. They're two independent things, and they react and do things differently at different speeds.
So the federal funds rate and mortgage rates are not the same number that we're talking about. We're talking about a federal fund rate being akin to mortgage rates, and the relationship between the two is individual.
Correct. And stemming off of that, mortgage rates have been anticipating this rate cut for the last days, weeks, almost up to a month leading before the Fed had their meeting on Wednesday. So when the Fed finally did announce it, that was already baked into the mortgage rates. That's why mortgage rates have hit 3-4 year lows type stuff. They're already have that factored into their numbers. And reason that rates kind of technically went up, is that what mortgage rates were looking at during the federal meeting was what Jerome Powell was suggesting for the future of Fed rates. Now, the faster and more frequent that the Feds lower their rates, the more likely that mortgage rates are going to follow suit.
So we're talking not like a this week occurrence. We're talking about a season of starting reductions in the Fed rate, which will then influx into the mortgage rates. Maybe 6 months, 12 months. We're talking about this conversation is not a single one-off, as opposed to this is the beginning of a series of cuts coming up to maybe 2025. Is that right?
Correct. That's a great point to point out, is that the expectations for 2024 and 2025 are going to be a slower descent, which is why mortgage rates did not drop down. The descent is not going to be a straight drop down to 4% tomorrow.
Got it. So we're forecasting, planning winter into spring is what it sounds like.
Right. I would say that, and not for a couple different reasons. Right, the Feds don't meet again until November, so that's going to be like 4 or 5 weeks from now. You got the election coming up. You have the holiday shopping season. A lot of these things I think are going to put a big dampener, slowing to what's going to happen with mortgage rates until probably the beginning of next year. The beginning of next year, we'll have a couple more meetings under our belts so we can see what the Feds are truly doing with their rate. We'll have all the retail sales reports from the holiday shopping. We'll have presidency figured out. And I think at that point is where you really start seeing a lot more movement with mortgage rates.
Did you hear that? He said the presidency going to be figured out. You're going to have your Christmas shopping done. So we're talking like further out. Okay, so I think right now, just for me, I'll speak for me, wrapping my head around in November, we were just talking about how in November, if that's when the Feds meet next on November 6th, well, there's a whole election happening maybe less than 7 days after that. So within that week, it's going to be quite busy coming into November. So I think from a strategy session, as we're talking about planning
for buying,
for are you buying, are you selling, are you staying put, are you making plans, are you hibernating? Jason said he's already shopped, voted, and got his New Year's resolutions together. Okay, he's ready for the future. But I think for us, if we're noticing right now where we're at, and assessing on the buying side, because we're talking about seasonality as well. So as much as we're paying attention to the numbers on the Fed fund rate impacting mortgage rates going into this buying cycle, there's a thing that we call seasonality going into the fall for Bay Area, California shopping when it comes to homes. People generally cool off. It's a cooler season, like after this kind of like where we're at, end of summer, end of everyone's getting back and being settled going
School.
into the holiday. Really, it's school.
Yeah.
Once the kids go back and everyone's back on routine, people are cooling off on their home search. If they didn't buy something this summer, maybe they'll have their brain set when it's new year, new me, new house, new election, new presidency. Like Jason already talked about what life is like in January and what those rates might look like. But it's things to think about as far as we're going into a cooler season on the buying side, on the real estate side. There's generally a little bit less inventory at this time historically. There's generally a more constricted buyer's market historically. But if we're going into a softer market for mortgage rates, meaning it's a slow decline, as he was saying, and people are removing themselves from the competition pool,
It's an opportunity.
there's an opportunity bubble here.
Right.
So if we're looking at getting into the fall and getting into the winter, here's our opportunity. If there are less buyers in the buyer pool, meaning less competition, and the rates are cooling off, which means you might get a better buy on what your purchase power is, and you won't have to compete with so many people to drive that price up, we might have an opportunity bubble here in the fall.
Well, here's some numbers. On a $1 million purchase, if you were to do 20% down with wherever rates are today, we'll say 6%, and then you say, well, I'm going to wait. They're going to do another 0.5% rate cut, and my rate goes down 0.5%. Your monthly payment will go down $250, about, which is nice, right? It's saving $250 because your rate went down 0.5%. That's awesome. But as you wait and you hit that new year, new me, new buying spree, new buyers, that same house, if it goes from $1 million to $1.05 million, just $50,000 up, that purchase price is going to result in your housing payment going up about $250 also. And so waiting for your rate to come down, you'll say, oh, I'm going to try to save money because I'll get a better rate. But then if that price goes up $50,000, very reasonable, then you negate any savings. You're not actually saving any money because you're getting a higher purchase price.
So I'm hearing virtue of patience may not be your best friend in this cycle. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right.
So I think being prepared for what's happening next, right? That's why we're doing this. That's why we're giving you this information. So Jason just said, correct me where I got you wrong. For $1 million purchase, if we're going to write an offer on $1 million purchase now, right? And we're talking October 2024, there's going to be less competition and there might be not as many buyers out to compete about that one house at $1 million. And you're getting this better rate. But going into waiting for next year, waiting for January, that same house that we're talking about, 123 Main Street, in October is $1 million. Nobody else is really writing an offer on it. Maybe we'll get it.
Right.
But no, wait, I want to wait. I want to wait till January because maybe we'll save some more money. Maybe the rates will be better. Oh, but 123 Main Street, there's now 3 other people looking at that same house.
More competition.
And now they might merit a higher price. We're saying $1,050,000.
Right.
So you're saying what we're saving by acting accordingly now, if we save the competition extra money, that would be the $250 you would save, would then go right back into the house if we just waited.
Right.
You made it.
You're not saving money by waiting at that point. But if you do buy now, you've heard this before, you're able to refinance. So you get the lower price today, and then you get that lower rate in January, February. You can refinance at that time and get the best of both worlds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, y'all might get me. Patience is not my favorite virtue. However, being prepared is not a virtue, but the Boy Scouts have it right. So if you're prepared now, and you have these conversations now, and you're ready, we might be in an opportunity bubble if there's less competition with a favorable rate. When was the last time that happened?
It's been a while, probably the beginning of COVID.
And none of us remember anything from then anyways.
No.
So, if this is the opportunity bubble and you're ready to have that conversation, you got a little bit, enjoy this season of fall and winter as things cool off competitively. And also, the mortgage rates are cooling off. So as they continue to cool, don't wait too long is what I'm hearing. Because you can wait for the right time for the right house that's right for you. But if you're waiting for the sake of waiting, that might not be the strategy.
Can't say it better than myself.
I mean, you know, I be doing things. So
No.
that's where we're at post-Fed meeting here at the end of September. So we're going to be keeping up on what's happening and what's next and what's keeping you up to date on the market, as well as all things home mortgage related. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.